Hello and welcome to Academic English, Day 2. Last time we did a course overview and you should have also done that very short writing assignment, the diagnostic or secondary assessment. Those two things, the lecture and that short assignment, constitute the first day of class. Today, our second day of class, we are going to talk about some vocabulary issues, and this lecture might be a little bit longer, and that's fine. There is also a Google form assignment for you to do, a simple survey. You should do that by the end of next week, by the end of the second week of the semester. And it's fairly easy, and you get full credit, full 10 points just for doing it on time. An email assignment will come later next week. Today we are going to talk about vocabulary issues. You might have heard people use the term Konglish, and it's used for a few different things. First, in a negative sense, it is used for either Korean accented English, English with a heavy Korean accent, or even English with grammatical mistakes, ungrammatical English, grammatical errors made by a Korean person. And that's somewhat of a negative term. So I point these out because they are mistakes or typical problems that students should be aware of. And it's not necessarily the fault of Koreans. It's often due to maybe poor teaching or such, or lack of proofreading. As a teacher, I just find these interesting, but as students, it's helpful to point these out so you know what kinds of things to look out for when you are writing or speaking in English in your future. But first, some examples of kind of two extremes of this spectrum. You all know Ban Ki-moon. Some of my students in the past said they were a little bit embarrassed about his English. It's actually not that bad. He's understandable, and that's maybe more important. If you have an accent, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with having an accent, as long as you're understandable. Now, sometimes his accent was a bit hard to understand. Nonetheless, he was very successful and respected as a diplomat. As an international diplomat, he was pretty successful in the UN and respected. So I think the quality of his work and his character and his accomplishments overshadowed the accent problems. On the very other extreme, well, you know, Psy, during the big Gangnam Style craze, he appeared on American TV shows, several American TV shows, and his English is perfect. It's impressive for a person who didn't really spend much time in the US, who grew up in Korea. His English is perfect, and it's really impressive. Definitely not Konglish at all. He sounds very native-like. It's quite good. Listen to some of his YouTube clips where he appeared on Saturday Night Live or the Ellen DeGeneres Show. A few other examples. These show some typical mistakes. Clean blue crap. I hope they don't mean crap. Crab. It's crab. And by the way, gotge translates into English as blue crab. And occasionally I've seen restaurants, Italian restaurants near this campus, and on their menu they have, crap salad, crap pasta. That doesn't sound good. You should proofread your menus, please. I've seen this a couple of times. Keep door close at sea. I think you mean closed. It's different. Closed. And finally, the last picture here, I took this picture myself. You see this a lot in public buildings, a sign for a man room. Is it just for one man? I hope not. Or just one woman? No, we mean men in general, multiple men, men's room. It's a men's room or women's room, and that's a common mistake. A few more. I'm not sure what the first one, they mean, I hope they don't mean medical condemnation, a doctor scolding you, maybe. I hope they mean consultation. And don't waste waste. That's just ungrammatical. It doesn't make sense. Maybe don't throw away waste, or don't litter. Litter is a better term, meaning to leave trash lying around. I think that's what they mean. This one on the left, I think that's just bad spelling and strange. Just proofread, please. The last one, Sonjosim, that doesn't translate directly into English. It sounds kind of funny in English. It's like, be careful, your hand. What? Why? Ah! Or something? I don't know. Maybe watch out for your hand, or be careful with your hands, or something like that. Most of these pictures are from English.com, and this is something that English teachers like. It started in Japan as a website for bad Japanese English. It started with Japanese English, and it's expanded to examples from China, Thailand, and all over the world. Check it out. Now, Konglish is also used for something else. For English loanwords into Korean, for example, fighting, that's from fighting, but it means something different in Korean. Hopefully you know that. So these are really English Korean loanwords, or borrowings, borrowed words, whole words or parts of words. And I commonly see the word Konglish used for this, and I think that's not a good term. Maybe it's on my handout, but that's not really an appropriate term for this, because Konglish sounds kind of negative, and actually these words are actually creative, inventive. As a linguist, a linguist, I find them quite interesting. Korean has quite a few of these where Korean has done something pretty clever with these English words. And languages do this a lot. English has borrowed words from their languages and changed the meaning. Korean has taken English words and changed the meaning sometimes. And it's totally cool, as long as you know the differences. Because if you try to use some of these words with English speakers who don't know Korean, they might be confused because they mean something different in the original English than in Korean. So we're going to look at a couple of dozen of these today. So first, find someone to talk to. Talk to a family member, a friend. If you know somebody else in the course, maybe later on I'll match you up by email. But talk to somebody else first and pause the video. Think about other Korean words, like fighting, other Korean words that came from English. What are some other examples? And do you know if they mean the same thing in Korean and in English? Pause the video for a couple of minutes, talk, think, talk to somebody, and we'll come back. Okay, let me give you one set of words on the slide. These are what we call word blends. Korean has taken word elements from English and combined them together in a way that doesn't exist in English. So these are not really English words, but these are word blends where Korean has borrowed maybe two different words and combined them together in a creative way. So these may not exist in English exactly as they are, although some are similar, some are completely made up in Korean. So take a look at this set of 12 words. Pause the video for a minute and think, or talk to somebody. Find someone to talk to, can discuss together. What do these mean in Korean, and what do they mean in English? Or is this even an English word? Is this a natural word in English? And if not, what do you think the English word or equivalent would be for this Korean English term? So pause the video for a minute, think about these, and talk to somebody about these. Okay, and you can also follow along in the handout, the PDF handout that I provided for this for today. The first one is Dutch pay, or Dutch pay. We don't say that expression exactly in English, and I think in Korean you use it in two very different contexts. One, it would be for dating. Both dating partners pay for their own meal. And then also maybe you go out with coworkers, business, each person pays for himself or herself. And this is very normal in many Western cultures. We don't exactly say Dutch pay in English. We might say going Dutch, although that's specifically for dating, where each person pays for himself or herself. That's going Dutch. And that's for dating, not for eating out with your friends or coworkers or business meeting, business lunch. And then for maybe for non-dating contexts like eating out with friends, coworkers, business lunch, we talk about splitting the bill. We split the bill. So where does the expression going Dutch come from in English? I used to think it came from, well, Dutch people because they are more progressive about gender roles. Going Dutch is often better because for the sake of equality of women, it gives women more equality and empowerment, not being dependent on the guy or the guy not feeling like he expects something for buying her the meal. Actually, it's not really from Europe. We have this religious community in America. They're called the Amish. And they originally came from Switzerland, maybe southern Germany. They are an interesting group. They live on farms. They don't believe in modern technology. They farm using the same and live using the same methods that they did 400 years ago. They don't like technology. And the Amish refer to themselves as Deutsch because that's the German word for German, but Americans have misunderstood it as Dutch, so the word has been kind of confused. So they're often called, their language and their culture is often called the Dutch, like the Pennsylvania Dutch. And their language is often called Pennsylvania Dutch. It's a very unusual variety of German. It's based on Swiss German. But they speak a language similar to German, not Dutch. So the word comes from that, from the Amish, or so-called Dutch, incorrect term. And in their culture, they don't like to be in debt to someone else. They believe in independence, and I should not be in debt to somebody else financially. So whenever they eat out, they always pay, each person always pays for himself or herself when eating out. So the term going Dutch comes from that. Dutch pay is not the English term. We say going Dutch for dating or splitting the bill for other contexts. Next one, multi-tab. This is a clever word blend. What are these? In English, we call this a power strip, not a multi-tab. But that's a creative word blend in Korean. Power strip. Don't worry, I'll refer you to a website later where I have the actual correct English explanations for these terms. Next one is skinship. Now this is interesting. This is not actually an English word. We don't really have an English word for this. This is where Korean has very cleverly created a word from English elements. But we don't have this word in English, and I wish we did. This is a word that's lacking in English. The word skinship is really creative, what Korean has done. There's not really a good term. We might say affectionate touching. That's the best I can come up with. Affectionate touch, friendly touching, or romantic touching. If it's like really intense, like romantic, petting, like what lovers do when they're making love. But yeah, otherwise affectionate touch is the best word I can come up with. Otobai, we call that a motorcycle. It's different. It's a clever word blend in English. Waishutsu. So in Korean it's called waishutsu. We don't have that term in English. We would call it a dress shirt or a button-up shirt. It's kind of a collared shirt. It's got a collar. By the way, one more I should put in here. Kalati is different. We call that a polo shirt. Polo like the company, polo shirt or the sport. So this kind of shirt with a collar and 3 buttons, in English that's a polo shirt. And then we wouldn't call that a t-shirt. A t-shirt is a simple, very simple kind of shirt with no buttons. One piece, in Korean that means a dress, a full-length dress. We would just call that a dress. In English, one piece might refer to something else. It could either refer to a woman's one-piece swimsuit or bathing suit, so not a bikini, but a one-piece swimsuit. Or it can refer to a kind of clothing for babies, young infants. It's a one-piece clothing. The bottom can unbutton in order to change the baby's diapers. That's a one-piece baby outfit. Handphone, we say cell phone in American English, mobile in British, or anywhere we can say smartphone. Everyone, smartphone if it's a omurice. That is a Korean invention because it's a Korean food dish. There is no English word because it is a Korean invention. One room, like an apartment, that is a creative word blend in Korean. We don't say that in English. If it's a very cheap, old, kind of single room apartment, we might call it an efficiency apartment. If it's kind of nicer or newer, more modern, we would call it a studio apartment. And that's maybe the more common term today, studio apartment. One shot, we don't really say that in English. Maybe if you're drinking, we might say bottoms up, if it's like, whiskey or brandy and it's supposed to be consumed all at once. We would say bottoms up, right, the bottom of the glass. But we don't say one shot. Otherwise, for other things like wine or beer, we might say toast or cheers, or here's to you, or something like that. And by the way, important cultural notes, that kind of one shot or bottoms up drinking, that's maybe more so for parties with young people. It's not something that would be culturally accepted in a business dinner or in a professional context or academic context. If you are, working in a business someday or in a university setting and you're on a business trip to eat with people from another company or from another university. So keep what might be done here in business settings would not really work in other countries. Okay. Kickboard, I know this because I have a son who loves riding on his kickboard, but in English it's a scooter. Whether it's one that you push with your legs or a motorized or electric scooter, that's a scooter. Kickboard is a interesting, creative Korean word. Selka, in English we say selfie. It's a selfie. We have a next set. These are some words that are shortened from English words, including some abbreviations. Pause the video for a minute, look at these, think about these, talk to someone else about these, and how do you think these are different in English, or what are the English equivalents? Okay, so pause for a minute. Okay, the first one, in Korean you say 리모컨, but in English we don't say 리모컨, we say remote or remote control. Remote control. The second one, this is different. In Korean you say 에어컨, but that doesn't work in English. We would say either air conditioning or AC. AC for short, AC. Turn on the AC. The next one, FM, in the sense of sort of a something you might do at an MT or something. This doesn't exist in Western cultures. It would actually be unusual. I experienced it once when I was hired at a job in Korea, and I felt very awkward. It's not something that you would experience in Western cultures, especially a business dinner or dinner with other professors. In English, FM only refers to a type of radio. It would not refer to field manual. We wouldn't think of field manual. So apparently, I guess this comes from the Korean field manual, and maybe it started as a Korean army social ritual, but this doesn't exist in Western culture, where people go around and they loudly and enthusiastically introduce themselves and say something, kind of patriotic about this school or the company or something like that. We just don't have it. Another word we don't have in English is MT. This is a creative word blend. We say membership training, but we don't really have that expression in English, or at least membership training is not very common in English. MT, in the sense we don't have. And again, the culture is different. We don't really do this in the same way that MT is done in Korean culture. We might speak of a retreat, like a company retreat or a company outing. But again, this is less common, or maybe for students or something, it's not really that common. The kind of organized MTs that are done in Korean culture. Maybe with a club, a religious group, a business group, you might sometimes have an outing or a retreat, but not as much as here, and we would just call it a retreat or an outing. AS is another one. This is a cultural difference. Let's say I buy a phone or a computer, printer here, and it doesn't work. I take it back. Even if it's totally new, I take it back to the shop in Korea and they send it away to be fixed. That's AS, or after service. In English, we would say customer service. But things are a little different. If I've had it for a while, I might take it to customer service to have it sent away to be fixed. But if it's something I just bought, in Western countries, by law, usually I would be able to either exchange it for a new one that works, or get my money back, get a refund. So things like that work a little different between Korean and Western cultures. Now, set 3. Now these are going to be the more confusing ones, because many times these words have different meanings, slightly different, sometimes very different meanings between Korean and English. So I want you to pause the video, think about these, talk to someone else. How are these different between Korean and English? So pause, think, and discuss. Okay, we're back. First one, diet, little different. In English, the primary meaning of diet is not losing weight, but it's your eating habits, your eating lifestyle. Do you have a healthy diet? Is your diet healthy or unhealthy? The process of trying to lose weight, that is a second meaning. And for that, we would talk about going on a diet, or to be on a diet, And that's the expression that's like the diet in Korean. So it's normal in health context to talk about healthy diet or unhealthy diet, a person's eating lifestyle. Manicure. This is a little different, because in Korean, manicure refers to what we call nail polish, the paint you put on your fingernails. That's nail polish. In English, manicure is more like the complete nail care. You go to a manicurist and you get your nails trimmed and cleaned and filed, fixed, maybe fixing problems, maybe putting on artificial fingernails, putting on nail polish. So it's the whole nail treatment, nail care is manicure. Next is meeting. This is different in Korean and English. In Korean, it is more often used in the context of dating, not so much in English. In English, meeting is just any kind of meeting, like a business meeting or a meeting of friends. Culture is also a bit different in terms of dating. We sometimes have blind dates. That's where you go out with somebody you haven't met before, like an arranged date. Meeting in Korean, I'm told, often refers to group dates, including group blind dates. And that kind of group dating doesn't exist in Western culture, interestingly. Okay, vinyl or 비닐 in Korean. Often plastic bags, plastic wrap, food wrap for covering foods is vinyl in Korean. Also the kind of vinyl sheet you put over your windows in winter to keep out the cold air. Those things are vinyl, a sheet of plastic or wrap. In English, vinyl doesn't refer specifically to those things. It is simply the name for a type of plastic. It's more of a chemical name for a type of plastic. So we could talk about vinyl bags, vinyl seats, vinyl seat covers, vinyl cushions, vinyl sofa, a vinyl chair, or whatever is made of vinyl. Cider is different. In Korean, it's a carbonated drink. It's a soda. It's a clear soda, or a lemon lime soda like Chilsung cider or Sprite. In English, it's different. It's an apple drink. It's a special apple drink. We usually drink it in the autumn and fall. It's usually hot, kind of a concentrated or strong apple juice with spices like cinnamon. And it's really good. There is a non-alcoholic version, which probably a lot of people drink in the US and Canada around October, November. There's also an alcoholic version of cider too, an alcoholic apple drink. Cider is quite good. Sign is a little different. In English, sign is, for example, a notice or a stop sign or something like that. Or to sign, you sign a paper, you sign a document, and then what is signed is a signature. So to sign, a verb, and signature, a noun. Next is sharp or sharp. And in Korean, it refers to this, a mechanical pencil. We call it a mechanical pencil. We don't associate sharp with mechanical pencils. If you say, give me a sharp, like what, a sharp knife or something. Cunning is different. In Korean, cunning is cheating. In English, cunning is simply an adjective that means smart, clever, in a bad or evil way. A cunning criminal, a cunning robber, a cunning fox or wolf stole some chickens from our chicken house. Consent. Consent, like one of these things in your wall. In Korean, it's called a consent. And for a long time, I wondered why. It's like, are you asking its permission, its consent? Can I plug this into you? I always wondered why. And then some of my students looked it up and found out that it refers to concentric. It's shortened from concentric, as in concentric circles. Although even then, it's still strange to me because it's two dots in the middle and it's not concentric. Concentric refers to multiple circles that share the same center. Con with same centers, concentric circles. But it's shortened from concentric. In English, we call it an outlet, a wall outlet, an electrical outlet, or also in American English, a plug-in. Sometimes in some places a wall socket, a socket. Those are also possible. Toast is different. In English, it's just bread that has been heated, say, in a toaster. In Korean, it's more of a breakfast sandwich, maybe with eggs or cheese or ham. Now, if it's made with cheese, we could call it a grilled cheese sandwich. Panty, this is different. All right, guys, if you are shopping in an English-speaking country, you want to buy underwear, don't ask for panties. You'll get the wrong thing. Because in English, panties refers to women's underwear. If you ask for panties, they might say, is this for your wife or girlfriend? And if you say, no, it's for me, they might say, okay, no problem. This is California. We're very liberal and open-minded here. That's none of my business. Do what you like. Sure, here's some panties. Panties is women's underwear. For guys, as for underwear or particular type, briefs, which would be what you think of in Korean as the panty style underwear, or boxers, or in Korean the trunk style underwear, boxers, because it looks like shorts worn by boxers. Hot dog, a little different. What you call a hot dog is a sausage or wiener with cornbread layer. We call that a corn dog. That's a corn dog. What we call a hot dog is either the wiener or sausage itself, or more usually that wiener in a white bread bun. That's a hot dog. Interesting Korean invention, by the way, is the 감자 hot dog. I tried that once. It was interesting. I don't think I would want to eat it again. It's very starchy and oily, but interesting. Handle is different. Bag handle, a door handle, but in Korean, handle is a steering wheel. We call that a car steering wheel. That's a steering wheel, not a handle in English. Hunting, you talk about hunting guys or girls. Well, in English, it would be illegal to hunt people. You would hunt rabbits or deer or hunt ducks, hunt animals, different. What you call hunting, we might refer to as, going to a club or bar and picking up girls or women, or picking up guys. By the way, some people talk about girls, but it's kind of more appropriate in professional or academic context if you're talking about adult females to say women, not girls. Anyway, you would talk about going to pick up some women, or a lady, or picking up guys. That's maybe the closest equivalent. It's kind of a slang expression, going out to pick up some guys, pick up some girls or ladies. Or maybe flirt. Flirt is when you come up to a particular person and you say, hi, you look really pretty, would you like to go out with me? And you kind of try to charm the person. That's flirting. F-L-I-R-T, flirt. Hotchkiss. This is what you call a hotchkiss. We call it a stapler. The word hotchkiss is not known to English speakers. I heard it for the first time when I came to Korea. It used to be a company, I think a British company, that made staplers a long time ago and then introduced them to Japan, and the word hotchkiss became a Japanese English word for stapler and came to Korean. I don't know if the company still exists in Western countries. Our staplers are made by different countries and we've never heard of hotchkiss. Okay, fighting or fighting, as you probably know, this is different. If you say fighting in English, fighting, well, people might think, oh, a fight where? I want to see a fight. Who's fighting? Or fighting, oh, you want to fight? You want to fight me? Come on, I'll fight you. In Korean, you use it as a cheer. It's kind of an interesting creative use of the word. I guess in English, depending on the context, you might say cheer up, or good luck, or go. If it's a sporting context, maybe go team, go, go, something like that. It's a little hard to translate. And finally, fancy, or pansy, is stationery. Fancy paper, but we call it stationery, spelled E-R-Y. One last little slide. This is a word that is actually not English. Maybe you didn't know, but it's not English. Think about this. Where does this word come from and what does it mean? Okay, Arbeit or Alba is from German. It came from German into Japanese, from Japanese into English, and it's what we call in English temporary work or part-time work. In German, Arbeit, the noun, or arbeiten, the verb, simply means work like normal work. My job as a professor, das ist meine Arbeit, ich arbeite, ich muss arbeiten. It's just work, normal work in German. Interestingly, if you are interested in German, the word in German for part-time work, temporary work, is Job. The noun Job, ich habe einen Job. The verb jobben, ich muss jobben, from the English job. So they took the English word job and gave it a different meaning. Just as English has taken words from different languages, given them a different meaning. Korean has taken English words and given them a different meaning, as we have seen today. And it is a very interesting and creative process. These words are really cool, but if you're learning English, you should know these words in Korean are pretty cool, but they don't mean the same as the original English words. And as long as you know that, it's fine, and you can appreciate what Korean has done, which is pretty clever with many of these words. Next time, we are going to talk about pronunciation. So for these lecture videos, I'm mainly doing stuff that works well in lectures. It's kind of difficult not having a real live class and class interaction. So I'm doing things on video that work well on video. Vocabulary, and the next time I'm going to talk about pronunciation. Think about what aspects of English pronunciation seem hard for you, difficult for you. Now, it is not necessarily important that you sound like a native. That's not possible, it's not realistic. But we will talk about some of the English sounds that are difficult for Koreans and how you can pronounce them better and how to improve your pronunciation. So, think about that, and the next time we will talk about English pronunciation vowels, consonants, and some other aspects of pronunciation that are also important as well. So thank you, and have a good day and a good weekend. Be sure to do your assignments, and see you next week. Goodbye.